Welcome or welcome back to my channel and to today's video, which is my 2025 bullet journal setup. I am a little bit late posting this video, and genuinely, Real-Time Cat only set this up yesterday, which is the 3rd of January. It's the 4th of January when I'm filming this. So really my message to you is it's okay if you haven't set one up either. There's still time. It doesn't matter whether you start it on the 1st of the year or later on. A planner or journal should be useful to you whenever you use it. It doesn't matter if you didn't start it on the 1st of the year. I have tried bullet journaling before, but I have dropped the planner for various reasons. So I'm not convinced that I will definitely keep this one going. But I have really tried to embrace that my journal will be simple, will be functional, and hopefully that will mean that I use it. If I don't, I will be kind to myself, but I am going to try and give it my best go. I wasn't sure about sharing my bullet journal with you. My spreads are really not super aesthetic or creative, but actually I think that makes it even more important to share. I love watching videos of super beautiful artistic bullet journals, but I just don't have the creative ability to recreate those. I have watched hundreds of bullet journal videos. I created a playlist of my favorites, and that will be linked in the description in my bullet journals favorite document. So if you want to check that out to see who I got inspiration from, that's where you can find that. But I have really taken the basics of all of those videos and put them into my journal setup. It was relatively easy for me to create. I did it between like 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock last night. So hopefully this is something that might feel doable to you to recreate. There's not a lot of drawing, it's not super artistic, but there are still some colours, a little bit of splash of decoration. I love actually the look of really functional bullet journals that have no decoration. Ultimately, that's what the bullet journal is meant to be. But I don't think I will keep coming back to it if it's not got a little bit of decoration. So we've gone for a little bit. So this is really my bullet journal ideas for beginners, and it's genuinely for beginners. I see a lot of videos that say there are ideas for beginners, and I don't really think that they are. They're actually very complicated and super difficult to recreate. This one, because you could recreate it in a few hours, hopefully you agree with me that it is a bullet journal for beginners, and hopefully there'll be some inspiration in here for things that you can recreate. My journal is an Archer and Olive journal, which are dot grid pages. There are loads of places that you can get journals from. So don't feel you need an Archer and Olive one. It's just I use an Archer and Olive for my reading journal, so I was ordering anyway. That's why I picked it up. I do really like this one. It has a hard cover. I think that is something I would recommend though. If any bullet journal brand that you're looking for, I would recommend some kind of hard or plastic cover rather than a linen cover, which is very common for a lot of bullet journals. They just attract dust and fluff so easily, and that annoyed me on my reading journal, which I don't take anywhere, let alone what that might do to a bullet journal, which I do plan to hopefully take around with me. In terms of my supplies, other than a pencil, everything I use I've shown here. You really honestly could do this with less. You don't need to use these particular items. It's just this is what I had around the house. So the pens that I'm using in my journal this year are going to be the Sakura Pigma Micron pens. These are the first year I've had these. I use them in my reading journal setup and I love them. They are so much thinner than the Sharpie S Gel, which is the pen I was using before. So I can write a lot more in smaller spaces, and it was nice for decoration. So I really recommend those two. For my coloured pens, I do own a couple of sets of mild liners. Again, any pen would work, but these are just what I happen to have. Mild liners do not say the colours on them, or at least mine don't because they're in Japanese, but the numbers of the barcodes are there on the screen if you want these particular colours. Because my journal is a sort of brown colour, I went with this goldy brown mild liner and a grey, which I think looks nice. It's very neutral, but I like it. I do also have a number of Zig clean dot pens, which I was very grateful to be gifted from my friend Anna. Again, these are not essential, it's just I find the dots really satisfying with the Zig dot markers. So I do have a couple of those, but these are not an essential at all. It's just I like them. My other tools are kind of necessary things. I've not brought my pencil in here, but I just have a normal pencil. I use the Faber-Castell dust-free rubber. Again, not an essential that this particular rubber, but it's quite a good one. And my rulers, I use a few different rulers. I do have some plastic ones as well, but Amazon do a set of 3 metal rulers in different sizes. A normal A5 ruler is too small for my reading journal, which is an 8x8 square, which is why I got these upgraded size metal ones, which I really like. So you might want to invest in one of those, but again, any ruler, if you even need a ruler. To be honest, I actually didn't use a ruler for most of these spreads. I have also got this little clip here. I don't know what these are called, bulldog clips, I think. And I always used to think, oh, bullet journalers are just trying to be aesthetic by having a bulldog clip pen in their view. These are actually really useful for keeping pages flat. I found this really helpful when I was trying to like draw lines and things like that, just to keep the pages more flat without flipping around. So I would actually recommend a bulldog clip. This one, I happen to have some Coffee Monsters Co. ones that I got in a subscription one time. So these are the ones I use because this is what I have lying around, but you can get these from most stationery shops. Okay, time to show you the inside of my journal. So this is the first page of my journal. I love the gold foiling that Archer and Olive has on the left-hand side page. I will be sticking some post-it notes here. That's an idea I got from Jashi Corinne, where you can sort of write like quick notes to yourself, things you just stick in and pull out. So I really like that idea from her. Things I might use it for is like shopping lists or just things I want to buy. That's something that Jess recommends it for. But you could use it for lots of different things or nothing at all. I've not created a pocket or anything like that. That felt like too complicated a setup for me, as useful as I think it would be. On the right hand side, I did tear out the page where you would normally write your name. That was a mistake. Don't do that. I mean, I did it in my reading journal and it went fine, but I didn't do it properly in this one. I didn't rip it out properly. I just tried to just tear it out. So be super careful if you're going to tear it out. You can see that it got like a little bit messed up, but I'm just not going to look at it too much. For the quote page, I would have loved to have drawn this myself, but I decided that I would obsess over it. I would take too long over it and I wouldn't be happy with it. And it's the first page of my journal, so in theory I would look at it a lot, and I just thought, it has to be nice or it's going to upset me and it's going to put me off the journal. So I actually just made this in Canva. I recently got Canva Pro because it's helped me with my YouTube thumbnails. And so I used a Canva Pro design, which had the stars. And then I took an Instagram quote like that somebody has as a Canva template so that I could get this cute script. And then I put in the capital letters and then I drew in the black stars myself. So nothing over the top. You could obviously absolutely write this in yourself. It's just, I know where my perfectionist tendencies get too much, and this is one of those things. The quote is, I'm starting a coaching workout plan a few days away from when I'm filming this. And I really like this quote that the instructor has been putting on all of our pre-work stuff, which is, do not be upset with the results you did not get from the work you did not do. And I think this is really important to me for this year because I feel like I am somebody who expects results without putting in hard work, and then I get upset when it doesn't happen. And that also leans in with the perfectionist tendencies and things that I have. So I'm hoping that this will just remind me constantly, it's always in the front of my journal, I need to put in the work in order to receive the results in myself. I can't expect to get mentally or physically more well than I am right now without putting in the work. So I think that quote will help me a lot. Then I have a year in Polaroids spread. All of my titles I've done in basically the same way. I've done 3 high of the dot grid. I've written in capital letters in the mild liner, and then with the Sakura Micron 5 I've gone over and drawn in the curvy writing, and then I've used the number 1 for the decorations because I could get really small with those stars. For the Polaroids, I don't have an Instax camera or anything like that. I'll just print these off on sticker paper and stick them in. And I don't even think I'll do this every month, to be honest. I expect that what I'll probably do is come back at the end of 6 months and fill this in. I have only done 6 months. I don't know how long this journal will last me, but I figure I'll just do the second half in the second half of the year if I'm still in the same journal. For the sizing, I think it's 10 by 14. But that wasn't based on anything in particular, just what I thought would roughly look good in the spread, and it did. I drew in the little squares with pencil first so I could count them out and make sure it was correct, and then I just go over it in pen. This was a very simple spread, very easy to set up. I don't think it's essential, but I'm also trying to sort of practice gratitude this year, so this kind of leans into that of celebrating lovely moments of the year. Next up, I do have my goals spread, which you can see I haven't yet filled out, and I only just remembered that as I started filming, so I'm sorry that this is not done, but I'm going to put a picture on screen of my goals from 2023, which is when I last set some goals. So you can get an idea of what I'm trying to do. I have done my goals mind map in the same way every time I've done one. It was inspired by Taylor of Tattoo Teacher Plans. I like the visuals of the mind map, and I use a couple of stickers in there. So I plan to do the same thing. The categories are based on the Moxie Life system. I had this goal setting system in 2022, I think. Wow, time is flying. And so the color coding of the goals system just makes sense in my brain. So I just decided to go with the same thing. I don't really know yet what my goals are going to be for this year. I actually don't really like goal setting. I used to do it back when I got the Moxie Life planner. I was goal setting a bit before that as well. But I feel like there are a lot of goals where I am not in control of the outcome. So then I get upset about setting goals. But there are some smaller goals that I could set, particularly around some of my workout goals and things like that, my eating habits, etc. So maybe I'll be able to make some changes there. I don't hold myself too accountable to these. And maybe therein lies the problem, to be honest. We know that from the quote at the beginning, I expect results without putting in work. So there probably is something that I really need to reflect on about myself here. But for now, the spread is there. My word of the year is heal, because I've said a couple of times on the channel, but in case this is the first video of mine you're watching, I have not been mentally or physically well for a little while. There were many great things that happened to me in 2024. I got married, I learned to drive, I got promoted, and a lot of that happened in very quick succession. And those were all amazing things, but also I've been quite mentally and physically unwell for parts of the year. And I would like to just spend some time healing in 2025. Next up, I have just 2 blank spreads for now. For the decorations, these dotted lines, I was inspired by a particular style of bullet journal spread, and if I can find it, I'll specifically call that person out with the dash lines, because I didn't need to use a ruler for this. That was a big game changer for me, because I am somebody who likes straight lines. I like everything to be perfect, but I like what the dotted lines look like, so I'm happy, and that was easier than going around and drawing lines in with a ruler. I don't like what the stars look like round the spread though, so I do stop that after this spread, but I didn't feel that it was bad enough to stick these pages together and start again, which I have done a number of times in this setup. The left hand side for the things I love, this is where I'm going to just be writing things. I want to do a YouTube video on things I love just generally in my life. And at the moment, those are random notes sitting on a post-it, or not even a post-it, just like a notepad leaflet, and it's going to get lost. So I want to put that in here. And then also I'm going to have on the right hand side where I need to change my name, because I got married in 2024 and it really needs to be a goal of 2025 to actually change everything into my married name. Some of these are spreads that were existing in the disc bound functional planner that I set up, and I do have a video for that on the channel. So there are some repeats here. I dropped that planner very quickly. It's a very me thing to do, to drop a planner. So as cute as that planner was, and I spent a lot of time setting it up, I didn't end up using it. But some of the information around where I need to change my name sits in that disc bound planner, so I need to transfer that into here. Then I just have a double page spread for inbox. Again, this is something that I'd set up in the disc bound. This is just a blank space for me to jot down any notes, any random thoughts that come to mind. I am somebody that has a lot of thoughts going through my brain at all times. It's really hard to focus on one thing. So I'm hoping that this will just be somewhere I can come and jot stuff down and then know where to find it when I come back to it. For the decoration, I just did some random wiggly lines with the mild liners. They are not neat, but I think they look cute enough, and it's the general decoration that I went for this spread. The little diamond stars I get a lot better at as we go through the spread. It was really nice to see my journey with those. Then I have on the left hand side some video ideas. This is just for me to keep a running list of any ideas I have for future YouTube videos. Again, this is something I don't really like to rattle around in my brain, but I have this information in multiple different planners and journals right now, so it would be good to just put it in one place so I know where it is. And then on the right hand side, I'm so happy with how this spread came out. I was inspired by the place where I got the dotted line ideas from. And again, I will try and make sure I reference to that and specifically in the description. But it was this like 2020 goals spread with these clouds. I took the clouds and recreated it into my monthly social stats. This is to mark my Instagram and YouTube stats For 2024, I kept track of those in my reading journal, which is not entirely relevant as most of the content that I post is planning content, not reading content. So I think that having it in the bullet journal is a more sensible place to keep it. What I didn't really think about was that these clouds are not very big, and so I don't really know how I will mark them. I think I will just put like IG and the number and YT and the number. That will fit, I think. For the clouds, I just use the mild liner, and then I use the dot pens to put the 3 letters of the beginning of the month. I really like this spread. I'm very happy with how this came out. Stuck these pages together as I had to start again, so this is very thick. But next up we have my things to watch spread. I should have called it TV shows or just shows to watch because I'm only marking TV shows, not movies. We do have a list of movies we would like to watch, but I'm more interested in our TV show list. I feel very overwhelmed with how many suggestions we get given for TV shows to watch. I never really know what we're in the middle of. Stuart will be like, we should watch this, we should watch this. And I just feel really overwhelmed by how many options there are. So on this spread, I have put all of the main TV shows that mostly me and Stuart, sometimes me, but mostly the both of us will be watching. I split it into categories. We do have several TV subscriptions, and that's maybe something Stuart and I need to address this year. But we do have subscriptions for Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon, Apple and Paramount Plus. Those Stuart got Apple for free, so I don't really count that one. He got it with a purchase of something. But anyway, what I'm doing is marking by streaming service what shows we would like to watch, and then I have a grey dot for the number of seasons for each of the shows, and then I've ticked off the ones that we've already watched. I will only be ticking them off when we complete a season. We are in the middle of a few, like The Witcher, The Office, Modern Family I'm in the middle of, The Bear we're in the middle of, but I will only tick it off once we have completed the season. I'm really happy with the aesthetics of this spread. I didn't actually go through and count out specific number of rows for each streaming service, which was maybe a mistake. And I also realised afterwards I missed off the BBC, which I would have liked to include. But I knew that generally we had the most on Netflix and Disney Plus, which is why they got the biggest sections. This one I think has also been stuck together. So on here, this is my sort of like gift tracker spread. So in the top left, we have my Penpal tracker. I have never done anything with penpaling, but it's something that I would like to get into in 2025. So it's just a small part of this spread where I have a list for incoming in case anybody was to send me anything. Not that I necessarily expect that will actually happen. And then I have an outgoing for ones that I need to do that may never get used, but we'll see. Then I have a tracker for just birthdays where I can track, particularly when I've bought something for someone's birthday, because I will buy things all year round. If I see something that would be a good present for somebody, I will just get it at the time. Like I think I had Anna's Christmas present for over half a year, and then I kept forgetting I had it because I just stick it in a box in my office, which is like 4 gifts once I've bought them. So this is just for me to write down where I have bought somebody something so I don't forget. On the right side, I have a Christmas tracker, which is specifically split by person, where I buy one gift or potentially multiple gifts for these people. Then I have a section here which is just for sort of like one-offs or where I don't need to pre-plan what I will be getting. And at the bottom I have a Christmas card list. It was useful to set this up having just been through Christmas because it meant I sort of knew like who sent Christmas cards this year. Next up, I have a cleaning schedule. This is the most overwhelming spread ever, but is the number one spread that I have most ever wanted to set up in a journal or a planner. So I'm pleased to have finally done it. The idea with this is I actually find cleaning really hard. It's a side effect of my depression, but cleaning is just not my favourite activity to do. And I find it hard to know when I last did something. And also, like, if I'm in the mood to clean, I then can't even think about what needs doing. So the idea here is that I can go through and track how regularly I do these things. I think this will be very helpful if I actually use it. Here, this is the most overwhelming part, but these are the things that I need to do weekly. I haven't included daily things in here because I am not going to be marking it off daily. That can go in my weeklies. I have done 52 circles, with the idea being I will then cross through when I do them, which is going to look weird because everything else will have a tick. So that's a bit of a shame. I could have not put the numbers, but then I don't know how I would know what week I was up to. But it would have looked less overwhelming. We live, we learn, what can you do? The ideal with the Archer and Olive A5 is that they do have 26 individual squares in each row, which is great because double that is 52. So that was perfect. So whilst it looks a bit overwhelming, I think it is quite practical. Then here I have my monthlies. So I've just done 12 dots for each of the tasks and I haven't written those in yet. And then I have quarterly and yearly. I've not written in most of these because I don't think that I will do things in this house as regularly as they either should be done or as regularly as you might do them. So I didn't want judgment on how regularly I might do various cleaning things. So I'm going to fill that out when I get off this filming this video. Next up, I have freezer inventory. This is another spread that I have really wanted to do. We don't have a very big freezer in our kitchen. It's only got 3 drawers, but they're quite deep and it's low down. And so I do not regularly go through that freezer to check what's in there. It's just difficult to maintain a stock in there. We got a chest freezer for the garage. I do not go in the garage because spiders. So Stuart has to go in there for me. And so sometimes stuff will just get put in there and I won't know what's ended up in the chest freezer. So I thought this would be a really useful way of just tracking what is in the freezer, how many portions I have. Also, when I'm meal planning, it's useful to not have to get up, go to the freezer, look what's in the freezer and then decide. It's useful to just have a record of, oh, these are the things that I have and can put into the meal plan. So you'll see I've got the specific item on the left hand side. I've got space for me to put dots based on how many of those things I have. And then I have put the date, these should say 2025, the date on the right hand side of when I put it in the freezer. I don't think that this will be big enough to last me the whole year, realistically. Like I've got a space and a half for the main freezer and a half space for the chest freezer. Stuart was like, that's not going to be big enough to last you. It's not, but also I think it would actually be good practice for me to set this up multiple times during the year. If, let's be real, I will probably drop the journal. But if I don't drop the journal, I think it would be good practice for me to go in and do a big stock take every time I need to refill this spread. But also there are some things I make multiple times. So even if I tick them off, I'll just continue with the dots until the row is full. The date might not be relevant then. And so I might have to think about that. I think in general that this spread will be useful enough for now. I've never had something like this, so it's difficult entirely to know what I need it to do. So once I start using it, I'll have an idea. I'll set a new one up if it would be more useful. The only thing that annoys me here is I just started writing weirdly indented when I got to the C's, and that is really upsetting me. But we're trying to overcome that perfectionism tendency. Then that's the end of my yearly spreads, and then I just have here my cycle 1 setup. So Jashi Corinne talks about how she does cycle planning, and that is really interesting to me because I am somebody who is very motivated by, oh, there's a new start on Monday, I will wait until Monday. And months not starting on a Monday actually just annoys me. I find it really difficult to like start doing something on the, you know, the first when it's on a Thursday or something like that. That, well, let's say like in February it's on a Saturday. I don't find that a helpful day to reset. I don't work on Mondays, and so also that helps me with that like reset mentality because I don't have to go to work. I can do other things on a Monday such as meal prep and things like that, so that I don't have to have those encroach on my actual weekends. So what I've done is I'm going to do my cycles in 4-week blocks. You can see that I'm starting on the 6th of January for this cycle because January has 5 weeks in it. So maybe my cycles really should be 5 weeks. But for this one, I'm just going to start with 4. That runs until the first week that has February in it. I didn't want to include the week that I'm in now, so the week of the 30th of December, because this is such a weird week. It's a week with New Year's and my schedule is not fully put in. I don't have work this week, and it just felt like, why am I putting myself through starting all of my planning and checking off and tracking in a week that is not a normal week? That doesn't feel fair on my own progress. Also, this coaching workout plan thing I'm doing starts on Monday. So that whole new year, new me mentality, I've got 2 more days in real time before that is really something in my life. I think that this will work well. In terms of the categories I've got, so I have this one, which is this cycle. This is just for any like general to-do list items. So for example, oh, do I need to send a birthday present to somebody? Actually, I need to probably send a birthday card to a friend. So like that's the kind of thing that I should be doing in this section. In here, I've got my YouTube videos. These are terrible drawings. I do not like these at all. But this is for a camera, so filmed, edited with a little laptop. And then the YouTube is for the YouTube stuff. So thumbnails, descriptions, scheduling. I tend to do all of those in one go. So the idea is I can just make a list of videos and tick those off just to keep track of what's coming up. I'm trying to be more regular with YouTube, and that might mean a little bit more planning is needed. And in here, I have next cycle. So this is just if I'm looking ahead and thinking about the next 4-week or 5-week block, what do I need to be doing in that set? So for example, we're going to be seeing my cousin for her daughter's birthday. I need to buy Aria a present. So I need to put that kind of thing in here. Down here, I have my monthly gratitude. I have never been good at monthly gratitude. I've tried it a number of times, but I'm just not good at it. But I thought if it was on this page, I might be more likely to do it rather than on a separate page, as this is, I would expect, somewhere that I will come back and look at. I don't know. It may not work, but we'll see. But it fit really nicely there, so that worked well. These squares are 5x5, which I think writing with a 0-1 pen is probably going to be enough space. In terms of what I'm going to put in here, this is not where I'm going to be doing forward planning. My husband got me onto Google Calendar when I officially moved in here. Well, I never officially moved in. I kind of just turned up and never left. But when the pandemic ended and we were starting to go back out into the world, I was still using paper planners for all of my planning up till then. And he was like, it really would be great if we could switch to Google Calendar. It would be so much easier. We can share a calendar. Everything would be easier. Moving to Google Calendar really was a game changer for me because I love sharing a calendar with him. It means we both know what's going on. He doesn't have to check with me if I've got something on the paper planner. Just everything is in there. I can send invites from our shared calendar to my work calendar, so it shows up in both. Really, I would never go back from doing our forward planning that way. So really what I'm going to be putting in here is potentially when YouTube videos are scheduled, but I also want to put in sort of major evening plans because I think that that will have an impact on meal planning. And whilst I can see those in my Google Calendar, I think it's useful to see those in multiple places just to sort of keep track in my head of where I'm going, what I'm doing, what's coming up, and what sort of impact that might have on my week. I should have probably left a bit more space between these for if I have any other spreads that I wanted to put in my yearly pages. I just wasn't thinking and went straight on. I have a planning doc that I use to plan all my journals, to be honest, but especially when I'm doing a new one, I'll use a Google Doc and I'll write out everything I want to do in the order and how many pages I expect it to take up. And because this was just next in the list, I just kept going. It was about 11 o'clock by this point. So I should have probably left more pages, but I'm going to try and not be too harsh on myself for that and just set up pages later on. If I think of something that would have been useful, I'll put it later on in the journal, even if it would interrupt the flow. I'm hoping that I will be okay with doing that. I will then be doing weekly spreads. I don't really know yet how those will look, and I've not set one up yet. I need to go and do that for the week of the 6th. I do have in the planning document a load of inspiration for weekly spreads, and as I say, the videos that have inspired me will be linked in the description in the bullet journal favorites document, so you can have a look at the types of spreads that are inspiring me. I will be keeping those as blank as I can and as easy to use as I can. I might use just dailies, but I think weeklies will probably work better for me. I don't actually think in a daily way, I think in a weekly way, and I think that's just the nature of my job. So weeklies are good because I will think, oh, I need to put this on Friday, and therefore I do need Friday already set up, and that's where dailies don't really work for me. But also, I don't always use weeklies as I should, so we'll see. As I say, I've tried bullet journaling a number of times before, or if you can, I know that some people will look at this and say this isn't bullet journaling, it's still even too decorative for that, and that's fine. I'm not here to get into an argument with people on the internet. A lot of people on YouTube will call this a bullet journal and say that's what I'm going to call it. But I've tried a number of bullet journals before. I've dropped them after a short period of time, so I don't really know what will happen, but I feel really good about this setup. It feels easy to do. I have done really beautiful cover pages in the past before, and as much as I like those, and one that I did was like the most viral post I've ever had on Instagram, and there's a part of me that thinks, oh, if you did those, if you set something up, then it might, you know, you might get loads of views or you might get loads of likes on a post. Sure, but that's not going to make it functional for me. The number one thing is that I need to be using this to help me on this journey. So we'll give it a go. We'll adapt if we need to, but I wanted to keep it simple. No stickers, just pen, just a few pens that I could carry around every day if I needed to, if I was to take this journal out with me. Let's see what happens. That is it for today's video. I hope it's been useful. I felt a bit ramblier than I expected today, but I wanted to just talk through my thought patterns. If I help one person with this video, I think that will have been job done. Hope that you found some inspiration in here, or at least just felt maybe a little bit overwhelmed about the potential of setting up a journal. Hopefully there will be something in here where you think, yeah, that is something I could set up. I only needed a ruler for this calendar. Everything else was just done with pen. I think that there are things in here that you could use that would mean that you could set up your own journal. If you did enjoy this video or found it useful, I would really appreciate a like. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe. I don't really know how much more of my bullet journal I'll be sharing over the course of the year, but who knows? If I stick with it, I'm sure I'll do more videos. You'll have to stick around to see what happens. In the description, I will have a link to the bullet journal favorites document with that playlist and all of the supplies. I will also have a link to my Instagram and my Goodreads if you want to check out any more content from me. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!